In a stunning and unexpected display of honesty, Republican Senator Ron Johnson admits to a MAGA interviewer that the Republican Party should not try to govern. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bell before you go. I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, friends. So listen, we've made quite a bit of hay in previous videos about the Republican Party's inability to responsibly govern. We give the devil the credit they're due when we talk about their ability to dominate the news cycle, to shape the news narrative, to influence public perception and polling, even when it contradicts the facts. Republicans enjoy a 30-point advantage with perception on the economy, even though the macroeconomic indicators have said for decades that the economy performs consistently better when Democrats are in power. We see it with perception on the border. Republicans killed a bipartisan border bill for cynical political purposes, and yet, as of right now, they still enjoy an advantage with respect to polling on immigration. Republicans have their strengths, but none of them involve actually governing, right? We've said it before that this iteration of Congress, with Republicans in control of the House of Representatives, is the least productive in modern history and the second least productive in U.S. history. A direct correlation between their control of one of the chambers and the inability of government to get things done. But what's new about this is an incumbent Republican senator, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, just gives the game away and says he's not interested in responsibly or effectively governing.
Currently here inside the bubble, you hear Republicans say, we need to get a result. We need to effectively govern. To me, that's almost code words for we got to do Democrat light. I subscribe more to the William F. Buckley definition of conservatism, which is standing athwart history and screaming, stop. We have to stop this madness. So there's a fair amount of stopping that's being required here. I think we'd be far better off if we never passed another piece of legislation.
It's almost like the Jim Jordan school of governing. Jim Jordan, who's very much takes a similar approach to Ron Johnson here. He's in the House of Representatives, and he is the least productive member of Congress, passed and sponsored no bills which have passed, right? But Johnson, unlike Jim Jordan, is again just publicly stating it. He's like, listen, we have some people here complaining about, Republicans can't govern effectively. Well, that's Democrat light. He volunteers the idea that to effectively govern is to be at minimum a diet Democrat, because he recognizes the meaningful relationship between effectively governing and the Democratic Party. He's like, no, we shouldn't do that. That's what Democrats do. We should do opposite. We should stop legislation. I'd be fine if there was literally no other piece of legislation ever passed. Something to the effect of that is what he just said. That's a stunning admission. And to be quite candid with you, the Democratic Party and President Biden should be using this for one ad after another. This should play nonstop during an election year. But what's interesting is, again, you contrast that to some of the rhetoric used by his fellow Republicans. Mike Johnson's a great example of this, Speaker of the House. He's a terrible speaker in terms of getting his agenda accomplished, right? I mean, we've seen Republicans really struggle with this. But even Mike Johnson says, even if he's lying, he says that Republicans should try to govern, as a reminder.
New coalition now. Speaker, what is your role? You're piloting the House. You're the North Star. I know it's a thin deck, but nonetheless, you have the political gavel and the political platform. How do you want to play this?
Well, listen, I think that we've got to demonstrate that we can govern. I think we hold fast.
We have to demonstrate that we can govern. Even Mike Johnson says there at least has to be the perception of responsible governance. Again, Ron Johnson just admitting that, no, we shouldn't even try. It's stunning. Chip Roy, a far-right Republican congressman, the guy who went viral saying, give me one thing I can say that we've done. He repeated something very similar in terms of lamenting the GOP's inability to govern.
Republicans will go around and they'll talk about how they scored major wins, how they somehow delivered for the American people. The fact of the matter is, we did no such thing.
Agreed. You guys have an allergy, a chronic allergy to responsibly govern. I mean, again, I've complained about this before in debates and conversations with other conservatives and enlightened centrists, just the stunning curve on which Republicans and American right-wingers are graded. I've compared it very often to a three-legged race, right? This idea that, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, even under the best of circumstances, obviously have wildly different views on what good policy looks like or what responsible governance looks like. But now, in the three-legged race that is American politics, Republicans, they're not even trying to run in a different direction or saying, hey, no, we should go this way to get to the finish line. They just literally drop to the ground and hug the leg of the Democrats to thwart progress. And yet very often they're rewarded for it electorally, right? They control 30 out of 50 state legislatures. There's a 6-3 conservative supermajority on the United States Supreme Court. We have a Democrats have a razor-thin margin in the Senate, even though people affiliated with the Democratic Party, they represent 40 million more people in the United States in a country of 330 million. So that's a substantial chunk, and yet it's effectively 50-50. Republicans control the House of Representatives, as chaotic and dysfunctional and stupid as it very often is. I mean, so much of our political system is just geared to make it so effortless for Republicans to win elections and re-election. And then when you hear admissions like this, it's like, when are we going to wake up to this? When are people going to realize, like, hey, listen, you don't reward people with government positions if their philosophy is government shouldn't govern? It's almost like, would you make somebody your fire chief, like your chief firefighter, if their position was, we shouldn't put out fires? No, of course not. Even if you disagree with policy, as I've said before, time and time again, it's simply a fact, and Republicans are now openly admitting it. To effectively govern is to be a Democrat, and Republicans have no talent for or interest in responsible governance. They are openly admitting it, which confirms what I've been telling you. It is a fact. It's not a matter of opinion. It's simply a fact. Democrats are objectively far better at governing. And if you care about your government actually functioning, knowing that the government's not going anywhere, so do you want it to work for you or spiral out of control to your detriment? If that's the case, if that's something you should consider, then perhaps ahead of the 2024 election, you should vote blue in November. Let me know what you think in the comments.